Hello, Vanessa Webb, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Australia here. Today I'm going to be playing with the Calming Camelia Stampset, which is in our celebration catalogue. In the South Pacific, celebration's actually been extended beyond 28th of February, so it doesn't end on Monday. You've still got time to get any of the products while they're still available for another couple of weeks. We'll be rounding up celebration on the 16th of March instead of 28th of Feb. So just a reminder about that. The Calming Camelia stamp set is actually a host set that's available during celebration, and you'll be able to add that to any order that you place which is over $500 or over. So whether it's a workshop or a personal order, whether it's online or in person, you'll be able to add this gorgeous stamp set to your collection. It's exclusive to celebration hosts or customers that place an order up to $500 in value. I'm casing a card, so this is a little bit of a casing the catalogue video, and I'm casing the card that's pictured on page 17, and it's cased in some beautiful purples, some of which are my favourites. So I love the fresh freesia and rich raspberry, which go together beautifully. I'm switching my card up a little bit. I love, incidentally, how the model's nail polish matches their card. I think that's cool. Mine doesn't quite match today, but it's kind of in that cool colour colorway. So I'm almost there. I'm coordinating rather than matching. But as you know, when you're using Stampin' Up! Products, your ink, your embellishments, your cardstock, everything matches when you're using the same colour. So you don't really have to think too much about how to coordinate and mix and match across a project. It's all thought out already for you, which is fabulous. All right, so without further ado, my card. I'm going to start off with a card base, which is rich raspberry. And I'm going to be stamping that large image, which you'll find in the Calming Camelia stamp set. And I'm just stamping that in rich raspberry ink onto the rich raspberry cardstock. I'm inking up the stamp. I've got a nice juicy ink pad, so I don't have to press too hard. And I'm just going to come on the corner, the top right-hand corner and the bottom left-hand corner. Because that's where we're going to be sort of seeing these stamps as not really as a focal point, but as a background. So that's that one. The other thing I'm going to do is just highlight a little bit of this stamp set, so this stamp image, and I'm just going to use some Whisper White ink. And I'm going to come on and with a blender pen, trusty blender pen, which is so simple to use, I'm going to highlight some of the areas of these flowers, these camellia flowers, just so that they stand out a little bit in the background. Because I've stamped, excuse me, I've stamped the rich raspberry, colour on colour, tone on tone. You'll find that, this helps it kind of stand out a little bit more off the background, which is the same colour. And I'm just highlighting, excuse me, little parts of the petals here, really subtle, and using that Whisper White ink. I'm going to go over these again after I've used them. So after I've highlighted them once, I'm just going to go over the top once again so that I can kind of give it more of a wash. And the blender pen is so easy to use in this way. You can colour in, small or large areas depending on how big your image is. You can do like a colour wash, or you can just highlight little tiny areas. And because I'm using the white, this is almost like, it's almost like shadow. I'm creating shadows with the stamping, and I'm creating highlights with my colouring. And you'll see, just on the little stem, I'm going to highlight just a tiny bit. So you'll start to see how those images are now starting to pop off the back of the background of the card. There will be more bits that I'm adding. Sorry, before I do that, I'm just going to stamp. First of all, on this little piece of basic white, I'm using the other image stamp from the Calming Camelia, which is that one. It's just the leaves. And I'm using a softer colour, but I'm going to stamp it off before I stamp it onto my card because I just want it to be really quite subtle. And I'm stamping it off once and then stamping it there. And I might just stamp another one. So you've just got a really soft background in fresh freesia, which tones in with the rich raspberry but is not the same colour. So it's like a paler version of the same tone. Then what I'm going to do is just tear this because I've got a bit of a tearing theme happening on my card. And I'm just going to create a little bit of a sort of a tag shape with that, but it's going to have an uneven bottom. Okay, so now I am going to stamp a greeting, and that is going to be on a piece of fresh freesia cardstock in rich raspberry ink. So tone on tone, but the greeting will be a little bit darker. That incidentally is from a die that you'll find in the Stitched So Sweetly dies. It has a little bit of stitching around it, so it's just got that nice little detail, and that's going to look really lovely layered onto the card, as you will see. The other thing that I'm going to do, and I'm sort of following along from the theme with the card that you'll find in the back of the celebration brochure, you'll notice that it's using the Hive embossing folder, the 3D embossing folder. You'll find the Hive embossing folder in our January to June mini catalogue that's available now. And I've got a little piece of the rich raspberry that I'm just going to sit inside my Hive folder, and I'm going to run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, just using the bottom plate, plate number 1, and the 3D plate that goes over the top. That provides the perfect thickness for this 3D folder, or any of our 3D folders. So here it is, and I love the texture that gives. But what I'm going to do is add even more texture. I'm just going to tear along the sides of this, and I told you there was a bit of a tearing theme happening, so yeah, I'm just adding to that because it's going to be one of my layers that sits on the card. And I also wanted to add a little bit of ribbon in the I think it's in the back of the celebration catalogue. They have used a little bit of the fresh freesia ribbon. I didn't have any of that, so I'm just going with some white, the white crinkled seam binding ribbon, which you can colour if you want to, but I'm just leaving it white. You can colour this with any of your Stampin' Blends, the alcohol-based markers, and the colour won't run. So it's great to get a neutral coloured ribbon like white, so that you can colour it to suit the project that you might want to be creating with it. And if you run out of a particular ribbon, then you can certainly colour it to suit. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm going to gather this, all of these bits and pieces together, and I'm going to use a stapler just to staple the top corner of the ribbon, and also the, no staple. There you go. Love that. Well, how to improvise. Without a staple, I'm just going to add maybe a little hexagon at the back. And that's going to pick up the ribbon that I have sort of gathered together at the back there. And then I will just use a tiny bit of glue to glue this straight on. So this will be a card that does not have a staple, which is okay. My original one did, and I will show you that when I bring it in, so you'll sort of see what it looks like. So I've got the ribbon just peeping out from behind like that. And then what I'm going to do is just glue that straight down. So I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of glue to the back, and this will hold everything together. I'm using the glue on the debossed side, by the way, so that the glue will adhere this. If you use it on here, there's actually too many gaps, I feel, for the glue to kind of take to it. So I've definitely used it on the debossed side as opposed to the embossed side. When you're using the Hive embossing folder, you'll see which is which when you've run it through. So that's looking pretty good. Now my greeting, I'm just going to apply that with a couple of these dimensionals. This is the full-size dimensionals on the back, and that's also going to help hold down the white piece that I stamped the fresh freesia leaves onto, and it's going to kind of hold all that down but also secure our gorgeous greeting like that. So that's kind of coming together really nicely. Let me bring in this little the sample that I prepared earlier. So there's my staple, but as you can see, it looks nice without it. That just provides a little bit of an embellishment. And everyone's got staples. I've actually got the old Stampin' Up stapler, which I've still got staples for, but you'll probably have a stapler at home that you use. Yeah, so I think that would look nice in pretty much any colour. I love the rich razzleberry. I love camellias, and I love this stamp set because, yeah, the detail in it is absolutely gorgeous. It's, yeah, it does remind me